Swarswahi vidusho api tatha rudo abhiniveshaha. That means the desire to cling to life is inherent both in the ignorant and in the learned. See, if someone is ignorant, so he also doesn't want to die. And even if somebody have knowledge, they also doesn't want to die, right? So this is because the mind retains impressions of the death experience from many previous incarnations. So we have fear of death, that is called abhinivesha, because we never come like directly into a human body. We have taken so many births and then we came into a human body, right? So we have impressions of death from our previous life. That's why we have fear of death. Now the next is concept of karmashya and karma vipaka. So क्लेश मूलः कर्माशयो दृष्टादृष्ट जन्म वेदनीयः. A man's latent tendencies or impressions have been created by his past thoughts and actions. These tendencies will bear fruits both in this life and in lives to come. So whatever we are doing, whatever thoughts we are having or whatever actions we are doing, we will bear fruits for that, right? All those actions have the tendency to bear fruits, even in this life also and in upcoming life also. Then what is karma vipak? Sati mule tad vipako jate rayur bhogaha. So long as the cause exists, it will bear fruits such as rebirth, a long or a short life, and the experiences of pleasure and of pain. So if there will be cause, then it will bear fruit. It can be in the form of rebirth. Life can be short or long, and there will be experiences of pleasure and pain, right? Then te halat paritap phala punya apunya hetutpad. Experiences of pleasure and of pain are the fruits of merit and demerit respectively. Then he explained nature of dukkha. परिणाम ताप संस्कार दुखे गुणा वृत्ति विरोधश्च दुःखमेव सर्वं विवेकिनः. So he told that the man of spiritual discrimination regards all these experiences as painful. For even the enjoyment of present pleasure is painful, since we already fear its loss. Past pleasure is painful because renewed cravings arise from the impressions it has left upon the mind. And how can any happiness be lasting if it depends only upon our moods? For these moods are constantly changing as one or another of the ever-warning guna seizes control of the mind. So, suppose even I am enjoying something today, but tomorrow if that thing will not be with me or it will be not present, so I'll be in the dukkha, right? So what is pleasant, that is also painful in real. So for the man who have spiritual discrimination, who have vivek, who have knowledge, so for that person even the pleasure situation or the present pleasure is also painful, because he knows the truth, he knows the real truth, that this pleasure is not permanent, this is temporary and we will lose it one day. So every sukha or dukkha is ultimately painful. So next is concept of Chaturvyuhvada. So in this 4 things are there: here hetu, hana and hanopai. Here is avoidable pain, here hetu is cause of that pain, And Hana is destroying the cause, and Hanopai mean to destroy that cause. So first here, so about here, Patanjali said, Heyam dukham anagatam. Which pain is avoidable? The pain which is yet to come, that is avoidable, that can be avoided, that may be avoided. So there are three kinds of karma. The karma which has already been created and stored up, sanchit karma, so that it will bear fruit in some future life, right? And the karma created in the past or in some previous life, which is bearing fruit at the present moment. And the karma which we are now in the process of creating by our thoughts and acts. Of these, the already existing karmas are beyond our control. We cannot control what we have done already, right? And we can only wait until they worked themselves out and accept their fruits with courage and patience. But the karmas which we are now creating, the pain which is yet to come, can be avoided. So the karmas which we are doing in a present life, or we are doing in present time, that we can do wisely, and we can avoid that pain which is the fruit, like which will be the fruit of that karma, like today's karma. So that pain we can avoid, that pain which is yet to come, right? So not by ceasing to act, that would be impossible even if it were desirable, but by ceasing to desire the fruits of action for oneself. So we cannot stop acting, we have to do actions. We have to act, we have to do our duties. So it is not, we cannot just stop doing actions. We just have to cease, or we just have to control our desire for the fruit of that action. So if we dedicate the fruits of action to God, we shall gradually unwind the wheel of karma and thus avoid its pain. Then here hetu. What is the cause of pain? Drishta drishyo sanyogo here hetu. So this pain is caused by false identification of the experiencer, that means Purusha, with the object of experience, that means Prakriti. So it may be avoided. Then what is the cause of this Sanyog? What is the cause of this false identification of experiencer with object of experience? Like what is the cause of joining of Purusha and Prakriti? Tasya hetur avidya. This identification is caused by ignorance. Again, avidya is cause of Sanyog also. Drishta drishya Sanyog heya hetu, and avidya is again the cause. Avidya is cause of all the obstacles, and avidya is cause of this Sanyoga also. Then third, Hana. Hana means destroying of cause. So tad bhavat sanyog abhavo hanam tad drishe kevalyam. When ignorance has been destroyed, this identification ceases, then bondage is at an end, and the experiencer, the Purusha, is independent and free. Then how this stage will come? Hana Upai. What is the Upai for Hana? How you can get the, like how you can destroy that ignorance. So for that, Hana Upai. Vivek Khatir Viplava Hana Upayah. Ignorance is destroyed by awakening to knowledge of the Atman until no trace of illusion remains. So Aviplava means when there will be no trace of illusions. Aviplava. Viplava means trace of illusion or illusion, and aviplava means no trace of illusion. So when that stage will come, there will be awakening of knowledge, Vivek Khyatit, knowledge of Atman, and no illusion, no trace of illusion. That time ignorance can be removed or destroyed. Then sage Patanjali also mentioned the 7 stages of knowledge. Tasya saptadha prant bhumihi pragya. The experiencer gains this knowledge in 7 stages, advancing towards the highest. So the first one is the realization that the source of all spiritual wisdom is inside ourselves, that the kingdom of heaven is within us. The second is the cessation of pain. The third is samadhi, complete realization of and union with Atman. And fourth is when a man comes out of samadhi, he returns to consciousness of the objective universe again. But this consciousness differs from the kind which we all experience. So the fifth one is next comes the realization that the mind and objective world have both ended their services to the experiencer or Purusha. Now the stored up impressions within the mind and the gunas themselves fall away forever, like rocks. To quote one of the classical commentators, fallen from the top of the mountain peak, never to return. And the seventh, the final stage, the state of external existence in union with the Atman. Now there is no more returning from samadhi to partial sense consciousness, no more identification with the mind. So these are the 7 stages of knowledge, Saptadha Pranta Bhumi Pragya. Then Drishya Anirupanam. About Drishya. What is Drishya? Drishya is object of experience, which is Prakriti. So Prakash, Kriya, Sthiti, Sheelam, Bhutendriya Atmakam, Bhoga Apavargartham, Drishyam. The object of experience is composed of the 3 gunas. The Prakriti is composed of 3 gunas. The principles of illumination, Sattva guna, activity, Rajas guna, and inertia, Tamas guna. From these, the whole universe has evolved together with the instruments of knowledge such as the mind, senses, etc., and the objects perceived such as the physical elements. The universe exists in order that the experiencer may experience it. The Purusha may experience it. The Purusha may experience Prakriti and thus become liberated. So, Vishesha Vishesh Linga Matra Lingani Gun Parvani. The gunas pass through 4 stages. All these gunas, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas, these pass through 4 stages: gross, subtle, primal and unevolved. Tadarth ev drishyasya atma. The object of experience exists only to serve the purpose of the Atman. So why is Prakriti, why is Drishyam exist? To serve the purpose of Atman, Purusha. See, in Sankhya philosophy, we use term as Purusha and Prakriti. Here it is Drishya and Drashta. Okay, so Drishya is Prakriti and Drashta is Atman or Purusha. And Purusha is for all genders, not for anyone. Kritartham prati nashtam api nashtam tadanya sadharantat. Though the object of experience becomes unreal to him who has reached the state of liberation, it remains real to all other beings. Suppose someone has reached to the state of liberation, but for us, it is still real, right? the object of experience. That means Prakriti is unreal to that person who has reached to liberation, but for us it is still real because we have not reached to that state, right? Then Drashtani Rupanam. Drashta Drishi Matraha Shuddho Api Pratyanupashyah. The Atman, the experiencer, is pure consciousness. The Purusha, which is pure consciousness, it appears to take on the changing colors of the mind. In reality, it is unchangeable. So when it comes in the context of Prakriti, it appears to take on the changing colors of the mind, which is in reality unchangeable. What is Prakriti Purusha Samyoga? Swaswami Shaktiyoh Swarup Uplabdhi Hetu Sanyoga. So the Atman, the experiencer, is identified with Prakriti, the object of experience, in order that the true nature of both Prakriti and Atman may be known. So why this happens? For knowing the true nature of Prakriti and Atman. Next is, according to our syllabus, the concept of Ashtanga Yoga. So Ashtanga Yoga is a very important concept of Patanjali Yoga Sutra, and which is one of the means to attain liberation. Patanjali mentions 8 limbs of yoga from which one can attain liberation, or one can control his mind, which is the aim of yoga, definition of yoga mentioned by Patanjali. So yama, niyama, asan, pranayama, pratyahar, dharana, dhyan, samadhyo, ashtav, angani. Yam, which are moral principles or social rules. Niyama, personal disciplines. Asana, yogic postures. Pranayama, yogic breathing. Pratyahar, withdrawal of senses. Dharana, concentration. Dhyan, meditation. Samadhi, liberation or salvation. And there are 5 antaranga and 5 bahiranga and 3 antaranga. Bahiranga are yama, niyama, asan, pranayam, pratyahar, and antaranga are dharana, dhyan, samadhi. So now what is yama? Yama is abstention from harming others, from falsehood, from theft, from incontinence, and from greed. Ahimsa, satya, astya, brahmacharya, aparigraha, yamaha. Ahimsa, non-violence. Satya, truthfulness. Astya, non-stealing. Brahmacharya, incontinence. And aparigraha, non-greediness. So yama and its siddhis. Ahimsa, non-violence. Someone mic is on, please mute it. Ahimsa pratishtayam tat sannidho vair tyagaha. So what happens when someone practices ahimsa, when someone practices non-violence? When a man becomes steadfast in his abstention from harming others, then all living creatures will cease to feel enmity in his presence. Then next is satya, truthfulness. Satya pratishtayam kriya phalashyatvam. So when someone practices truthfulness, when a man becomes steadfast in his abstention from falsehood, he gets the power of obtaining for himself and others the fruits of good deeds without having to perform the deeds themselves. So whatever if you will practice Satya for 12 years, it is said that you will, whatever you will say, that will become truth. Then the next is Astya, non-stealing. And Astya Pratisthayam Sarvaratnopasthanam. When a man becomes steadfast in his abstention from theft, when he practices Astya, non-stealing, all wealth comes to him. Brahmacharya, incontinence. Brahmacharya pratisthayam virya labha. When a man becomes steadfast in his abstention from incontinence, he acquires spiritual energy. Then the last one, aparigraha, non-greediness. Aparigraha sthirya janma kathanta sambodha. When a man becomes steadfast in his abstention from greed, he gains knowledge of his past, present and future existences. Then concept of Mahavrata, great wars. So these yamas are also known as Mahavrat. And when it is known as Mahavrat, so he explained, Jati Desh Kal Samya Anavichinnaha Sarvabhauma Mahavratam. So these forms of abstention are basic rules of conduct. They must be practiced without any reservations as to time, place, purpose or caste rules. So we have to practice all the yamas every time, on every place, in every purpose or in any case, like in whichever caste we are, we have to practice yamas. So Patanjali admits of no excuses or exceptions when he tells us, for example, to abstain from harming other. He means exactly what he says. He would have no patience with a man who assured him, certainly I'll abstain from killing, except of course in time of war, on a battlefield, when we are fighting in a just cause. And it's my duty anyway, as a member of the armed forces. So all these are not accepted, right? We cannot kill anyone in any case. No, not even in a war, not in a even in a battlefield, not even if it is our duty and all. We cannot give all those excuses, right? Non-harming means non-harming. Non-harming through our action, through our thoughts, through our words. The next is niyama. So all remember this, all the yamas are known as Mahavrata when it is practiced without any reservations as to time, place, purpose or caste. Okay, jati, desh, kal, samya. And the next limb of yoga is niyama. शोच संतोष तपः स्वाध्याय ईश्वर प्रणिधानानि नियमः. The niyamas, observances are purity, contentment, mortification, study and devotion to God. So these are 5 niyamas. So now niyamas and its siddhis. Shocha, which means purification. So shochat swa ang jugupsa parait samsargaha. So what is the result of shocha? When we practice shocha, what happens? There arises indifference towards the body and disgust for physical intercourse with others. Then sattva shuddhi saumanasya ekagram indriya jaya atma darshan yogyatwani cha. Moreover, one achieves purification of the heart, cheerfulness of mind, the power of concentration, control of the passion, and fitness for vision of the Atman. So when someone practices Shocha, it doesn't mean only physical cleanliness. It also refers to mental purification. Okay, physical purification as well as mental purification. So from purity, there is indifference towards the body and disgust for physical intercourse with others. And purification of heart, cheerfulness of mind, the power of concentration, control of passions, and fitness for vision of the Atman. All this comes. Next is Santosha. What happens when we practice contentment? Santoshat anuttam sukh labha. As a result of contentment, one gains supreme happiness, ultimate happiness, bliss, right? Anuttam sukh labha. The third one is tapa, austerity. So when someone practices austerity, impurities are removed, then special powers come to the body and the sense organs. Kai indriya siddhir shuddhi shyat tapasaha. So when we practice tapaha, then special powers comes to body and sense organs and impurities are removed. Then Swadhyay, self-study or study. Swadhyay adishta devata samprayogaha. As the result of study, one obtains the vision of that aspect of God which one has chosen to worship. Then Ishwar Pranidhana. Samadhi Siddhir Ishwar Pranidhanat. As a result of devotion to God, as a result of Ishwar Pranidhanat, one achieves Samadhi. Then concept of Vitarka. Vitark badhane pratipaksh bhavanam. So to be free from thoughts that distract one from yoga, thoughts of an opposite kind must be cultivated. So if we are practicing yama and niyamas and we are having some thoughts which are distracting us to follow that yama and niyama, so what we should do? We should think opposite of that thought, right? If I am thinking, like if in my mind thought is coming about violence, so what should I think? I will think opposite, that I should not do violence. So this is the opposite thought. So vitark badhane pratipaksh bhavana, opposite thought. So to be free from thoughts that distract us, we should think opposite kind of thought. So this is the technique of raising an opposite thought wave in order to overcome distracting thought waves in the mind. Then he said, Vitark hinsa adeyaha कृत कारित अनुमोदिता लोभ क्रोध मोह पूर्वका मृदु मध्य अधिमात्रा दुख ज्ञान अनंत फला इति प्रतिपक्ष भावनम. So the obstacles to yoga, such as acts of violence and untruth, such as hinsa adi, that means all the acts we have learned yama niyamas. So all those may be the obstacles to yoga, such as acts of violence and untruth. That means opposite to yama niyamas, right? So may be directly created or indirectly caused or approved. Krit, karita, anumodita. So if we are doing it and if we are indirectly causing it or if we are approving it, so in that case also it is wrong, right? We should not even directly create that, we should not indirectly cause that, and we should not even approve that. So they may be, and all these acts may be motivated by greed, anger, or self-interest. And they can be small, moderate, or great, but they never cease to result in pain and ignorance. One should overcome distracting thoughts by remembering this. So, if we are doing acts of violence or if we are being untruthful, so we have to think opposite, right? So this is concept of vitarka. The next is asana. The next asana is the third limb of yoga. Sthira Sukham Asanam. Posture or asana is to be seated in a position which is firm but relaxed. Then Prayatna Shaithilya Anant Samapatti Bhyam. Posture becomes firm and relaxed through control of the natural tendencies of the body and through meditation on the infinite. Prayatna Shaithilya Anant Samapatti Bhyam. Then what is the siddhi of asana? When we practice asana, what happens? Tato dvandvan abhighatah. So if we practice asana, one is no longer troubled by the dualities of sense experience. So we will be free from the dualities. We will be free from the pain or pleasure, kind of opposite things, right? There will be balance. And the fourth limb of yoga is pranayama. So tasmin sati shwas prashwas sanyoga gati vichhedah pranayama. After mastering posture, after mastering asana, one must practice control of the pranayama, by stopping the motions of inhalation and exhalation. So then he explained Bahaya Abhyantar Stambha Vritti Desh Kal Sankhya Bihi Paridrishto Dirgha Sukshmaha. The breath may be stopped externally or internally or checked in mid motion and regulated according to place, time, and a fixed number of moments, so that the stoppage is either protracted or brief. It can be dirgha or sukshma. So see, if you will notice here, he explained here three kind of pranayam. Pranayam means control of prana. So three types he mentioned how we can control our prana, how we can control our breath. We can stop it externally, we can control it externally. That means exhale and stop. Or we can stop internally. That means inhale and stop. Or in the mid motion. And we can regulate it according to place, time and fixed number. Desh, Kal and Sankhya bhi. So that the stoppage is either protracted or brief. Then he mentioned fourth type of pranayam also. Bhaya Abhyantar Vishya Shepi Chaturtaha. The fourth kind of pranayama is the stoppage of the breath, which is caused by concentration upon external or internal objects. So Bhaya Abhyantar Vishya Shepi Chaturtaha. So when someone stop their breath, which is caused by concentration upon external or internal object, that is the fourth kind of pranayama. In other texts we learn about Ashtakumbha, but here Patanjali mentioned four kind of pranayama. Then pranayama and its siddhis. Tatha shiyate prakash avaranam. As a result of this, the covering of the inner light is removed. The inner light is the light of spiritual discrimination between the real and the unreal. The covering is made up of ignorance, avidya, produced by our past karmas. As the mind becomes purified through the practice of pranayama, this ignorance is gradually dispelled. Then the next siddhi from pranayama is dharanasu cha yogyata mansaha. The mind gains the power of concentration, power of dharana. So, a practice of pranayama prepares us for the next step uh, or for the antarang practice, which is dharana. And the next limb of yoga is pratyahara. स्वविषय संप्रयोगे चित्त स्वरूप अनुकार एव इंद्रियाणां प्रत्याहारः. When the mind is withdrawn from sense objects, the sense organs also withdraw themselves from their respective objects and thus are said to imitate the mind. This is known as pratyahara. So, when the mind withdraws from senses or sense objects, and sense organs also withdraw themselves from their respective objects. So that time it is said to imitate the mind. So that state is known as pratyahara, controlling of senses. So by practicing pratyahara, pratyahara brings supreme control of the organs. Tatah parma avashyate indriyanam. So for today's class, this is the last, and we have learned till Bahiranga Yoga, and tomorrow we'll start from the third chapter and from Antaranga Yoga, Dharana, Dhyan, Samadhi, and other vibhutis. So thank you. If you have any questions, you can unmute your mic and ask. If anyone has any question, you can ask. No questions? Is everything clear?
Yes, Didi.
So can I ask questions?
No, Didi.
Why not? If everything is clear, then I should ask no. Okay, what we have studied today? This is the easiest question I can ask. And I am expecting answer. But we have studied.
Second chapter.
Sadhan part, the
Second
kleshas.
chapter.
the five kleshas, then nature of dukkha, and then the 8 limbs of
Yes.
Ashtanga Yoga.
After nature of dukkha, directly we have studied 8 limbs. Nothing in between.
7 stages of knowledge was there, and Drishya Nirupanam.
Okay, what is Chaturvyuhat? That is very important concept. Heya, Hetu.
Heya Heya Hetu Hana Hanopaya.
Yes, right. What is here?
The pain that is yet to come can be avoided.
Okay, so here means avoidable pain. And what is here, Hetu?
The cause of the pain, which is the false identification of object.
Okay. Anyone else? What is here, Hetu? Is everyone sleeping? Okay. What are the 8 limbs of yoga?
Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayam, Pratyahar, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi.
What are the 5 yamas?
Ahimsa, Satya, Asteya, Brahmacharya, Parigraha.
Niyamas?
Shaucha, Santosha, Tapa,
Only one
Swadhyaya.
person is answering. Where are others?
Yes, Didi, we are here only.
Then who will answer? Only Ashrita? Sunny, Riya, Karishma, Pranav, Suruchi.
Shall I tell, ma'am?
You can also answer, I'm telling.
शौच संतोषः तपस्वाध्याय ईश्वर प्रणिधानानि नियमाः.
Yes, very good.
Thank you, ma'am.
What is the result of Shocha?
शौचात् स्वांग जुगुप्सा परे रसम सर्गः.
Okay. What does it mean?
Like we get
Hmm?
aversion towards ourselves and others.
We get aversion.
Huh. Like disattached type of.
Hmm. And what is the? There are two siddhis for Shocha. The next one is
संतोष.
in Shocha only. Sattva Shuddhi. What is the result of ahimsa?
Ahimsa pratishtayam tatsannidho vaityagaha.
Okay, what is Mahavratas?
All the yamas when practiced without any reservations.
Okay, right. What are the reservations?
What Didi?
Time, place, purpose, caste.
Hmm?
Desh,
Any
Kal.
time, place, purpose
Yeah.
or caste.
Yes. Jati, desh, kal, samya. What is the cause of kleshas?
Didi, avidya.
Yes.
So there we have one sutra for that, na?
Yeah.
Avidya kshetra mutre shamapi.
Yes. Very good. Completed.
Like avidya kshetra mutre shamapi.
प्रसुप्त तनु विच्छिन्नो धारणा.
Yes.
चित्त तनु विच्छेद आधार.
Right. So you are sure you don't have any question? And what is the cause of Purusha Prakriti Sanyoga? What is the cause of pain?
हाँ ना.
Hana is the cause of pain.
No destroyer of the pain.
Hmm. So what is the cause of pain?
Dvesa.
What?
Dvesa is the cause of pain.
No. दृष्टा दृश्य संयोग है हेतु. Can anyone explain this?
Pain is caused by the false identification of the experiencer with object of experience.
Yeah, when uh, Prakriti Purush Sanyoga happens, so that is the cause of pain. And what is the cause of Prakriti Purush Sanyoga? Tasya hetur avidya. Avidya, ignorance is the cause of this Sanyoga also, right? Avidya is a cause of obstacles of the kleshas, and avidya is cause of Purush Prakriti Sanyoga or evolution. All right. Okay, what will you learn for tomorrow's class?
Antaranga yoga.
Huh?
Antaranga yoga is remaining healthy.
I told you to read the last week class also, the first chapter, Samadhi Path, and today's chapter, Sadhan Path. Both chapters are now completed and you should know this. Okay. Go through the slides, go through the recordings and learn it properly. This unit is so important. So I'll ask questions tomorrow. Okay. According to Yoga Darshan, how many elements are there?
25.
How many?
26. Elements.
How many? One number.
26, like because it have extra Ishwar Tattva, na?
Yes. Right. And what are the other 25? What are the 25 elements?
That Didi Mahabhuta and all.
Yes.
So Panch Mahabhutas, Panch Prana, Panch
Sattva, Prakriti, Purusha.
Prakriti, Purush.
Then
Prakriti, Purush, Panch Mahabhuta, Panch Prana, and
yes,
then Manas,
Manas.
Buddhi, Ahankar.
Yeah.
चित्त हो गए फिर ईश्वर.
And who mentioned 25 elements?
Sankhya.
Yeah, Sankhya. In Sankhya philosophy, who mentioned? Who wrote the Sankhya philosophy?
Sage Kapila.
Kapil
Yes.
say
Yes, right, Kapila. What is Kriya Yoga?
Tapa Swadhyaya Ishwar Pranidhana.
Okay, this is Kriya Yoga. And why this is Kriya Yoga? Because these are the preliminary steps towards yoga, right? So that's why it is known as Kriya Yoga. Okay. So we'll stop here and we'll continue tomorrow. Good night to everyone.
thank you Didi. Good night. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Didi. Good night.
Good night, ma'am. Thank you.